Hey everyone, and welcome back to the HUFTCAST. Today we talk to Khalik, and he's a filmmaker from New York, and he talks about just his whole journey, which is probably one of the best conversations we've ever had with someone in the film industry, or just not just in film but in life. He's very, very inspiring. And we hope you enjoy this episode. So yeah.
Yo,
What's up?
what up, man? You guys were waiting for a while?
No,
not
only
really.
like a minute or something. How are you? You okay?
Cool. Yeah, I'm right here, man. What's the word?
Nothing much. Yeah.
We're good. Have you got a webcam by any chance?
Yeah, I have it, but just let me rock with the picture right now.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
This, through my words, you'll get a better picture of me anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I feel that. How have you been anyway?
I'm good, man. And maintaining, just enjoying this summer as much as I can. You know what I mean? With all this wild shit going on, but maintaining.
That's good to hear, man.
Where you guys at?
We're in London, in southwest London. Yeah,
I love it over there.
yeah. Do you come by London much?
Yeah, my distributor, man, Dog Wolf, who distributed my film Black Mother, they were my UK distributor. So, I've been out there quite a bit,
Yeah, I was doing like a bit of reading a while back, and I saw you were meant to come to like Sheffield Doc Fest before obviously everything happened. So I was hoping to see that, but then obviously we made it happen another way.
Yeah, Sheffield is dope. I've been out there, I think it was 2018, but you're right. I was supposed to come back and it just got put on ice. So
Yeah, I don't know if we got a chance to introduce. So I'm Raza, and that's Harvey. Obviously we know who you are, so just
Yeah.
what's going on, man? Blessings, man.
Yeah.
So how do you because we pronounce your name Khalik, but in America you say it Khalik. I just want to make sure how you want us to say your name.
Whichever way, comes natural to you. Some people say it, the first way, some people say it the second way. Some people say Khalik, some people say Khalik, some people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's really interesting, like, because me and Harvey were laughing over it last night. Like, I knew that obviously the word Khalik in Arabic means creator, so I was like, okay, but then I was keep on hearing everyone say Khalik, and I was like, maybe he's just rocking with the other one, like, but it is interesting, like, the way people pronounce your name, like, because I've spoken to Harvey about this before. My name's Raza. It's actually pronounced Raza, but everyone calls me Raza or Raza here in London.
Yeah.
And you kind of just go with whatever you're given with the name. It's really kind of out of your control in a lot of ways,
Well, yeah, I mean, a name is just a symbol. You know what I'm saying? It's not your true identity.
Yeah.
It's a way that it's kind of like a tool that people use to identify you. And there's I forget where it comes from, but I read a quote one time that said, "It's not what you call me, it's what I answer to." You know what I'm saying? And basically people can call you anything. People can call you motherfucker. They could call you, you know what I'm saying, anything, but you give it power, you know what I'm saying, when you answer and you respond to it. You know what I'm saying? So, the name of God is my inheritance. That's a lesson that I study.
Yeah.
And it basically says that, we're all one. We just have multiple different names, and, we're all children of the Most High.
Sure. Yeah. Is that because I was reading like a little article? I think where remind me of where, like, because I think your mother's side is Jamaican and your father's side is from, is it Iran?
Yeah. Yup.
Iran. Yeah. So is your name from like Iranian, or is it from your involvement with like the 5%ers and stuff like that?
Yeah. My name is from the 5% Nation.
Okay.
When I was 14 years old, I took on the name. I was given a name, what the 5%ers refer to as an honorable name, which is the name your parent gives you when you're born. But, the 5% Nation is not a religious movement. It's not a cult. it comes through the Nation of Islam. You know, there was a man who was in the Nation of Islam, who was named Clarence Smith, and you know, he took the lessons to the streets. You know, the lessons that were reserved for the student ministers. You know, he was actually in Temple Number 7 under the student minister Malcolm X, in the 60s.
Yeah, that's
and you know, he was teaching and saying certain things that, you know, they didn't necessarily agree with. And you know, he decided to take the teachings to the street and give it to the children, you know. And because many of the people that he gave the lessons to didn't have parents, didn't have fathers, you know, he became their father, and his name became Allah the Father, you know. And he taught the 5%ers, you know, a lot of them were ex-Muslims, they had Muslim names.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he taught them to draw their names from the supreme mathematics and the supreme alphabets, which, you know, are kind of like the cornerstone of the curriculum of the 5% Nation. You know, but that's a whole, I mean, I could write a book about that subject, but you know, we could talk about that, but that's a whole nother chapter.
Yeah. It does lead quite well though, because you know, especially in like your short works, which we got a chance to see, there's such like a heavy presence of this and in and around it. And I guess even beyond that, there's a very heavy theme of like spirituality in all of your work, which is beautiful and sadly uncommon to see, I think, nowadays in a lot of people's work. So it's interesting to hear where that kind of came from.
Well, yeah, I mean, the 5%ers, you know, we teach knowledge and wisdom, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, we say that, you know, that's the extent of what we teach. We don't teach understanding, you know what I'm saying? And understanding is something that a person draws up for themselves, you know? And, you know, in response to your question, I answer like this because, you know, I deal with a lot of spirituality in my work, but that's not necessarily something that the 5% Nation as a whole teaches. That's my understanding, you know.
Yeah.
And when you deal with a lot of brothers who are within the 5% Nation, they're gonna really keep it simple and keep it basic and deal with, you know, the fundamentals, you know. And that's because we're aimed at guiding children. You know, a lot of the teachings are aimed at restoring, you know, the Black community to full power, you know, which it is lost because, you know, knowledge of self has been lost, you know, stripped away from us, you know what I'm saying? And made blind, deaf, and dumb as babies. So, you know, but, you know, in my art, I deal with high science and I do it in a way that's artistic so that people could, you know, understand it to an extent. But yeah, it's always, for me, man, it's always about, you know, holding a light up and being a beacon of light for those that need it. And that's really what inspiration is, you know what I'm saying? To inspire people to, you know, give them light, you know what I'm saying, when they need it most.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the importance of knowing yourself in what you do, and especially from where you come from. And I thought that was so like present in your work, especially in fields where you know, like there's like it is very interesting the way that you don't need to force a line or a story or a narrative to get across the feeling and of what really matters in your work. And there was one part me and Harvey were talking about where you or someone else, I can't remember, was talking about Mansa Musa, and it's a far off place, but it relates so much to what you're saying and something wider than that as well. But how important do you think that sort of thing is in your work?
Extremely important, you know, extremely important because, you know, I think like, you know, what you're touching on is, you know, the concept of empathy, you know, especially in that part of the film. When I'm speaking to some people on the corner and I'm telling them that, you know, this experience of suffering that, you know, we're experiencing, you know, such as poverty and, you know, homelessness and drug addiction, it's only really been going on for a short period of time in the history of civilization. You know, a lot of people don't know because so many books, entire libraries have been burned. You know, knowledge has been hidden. You know, so much has been destroyed historically, you know what I'm saying, which shows, you know, the height of achievement that, you know, Africa, you know, as a continent, has achieved. And I'm just saying in a way that, you know, the greatness of Black history is something that is so vast that, you know, this period, you know, the last 500 years, you know what I'm saying, a little bit more, but, you know, speaking about America and, you know, the Black man's plight in America, is just a drop in the bucket. You know what I'm saying? Just a drop of water in the ocean compared to the, you know, historical greatness and you know, the deep history that, you know, I studied, you know, certain historians like Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. You know, he wrote a book called They Came Before Columbus. You know, he also wrote multiple books about the Moors in Spain, Portugal, and France. And, you know, my work is coming through the lens of that, you know, the lens of history, you know what I'm saying? And especially of greatness. And some people, they see, you know, my subjects who I photograph and they say, yo, how are you, you know, amongst, you know, those folks, you know what I'm saying? And remaining safe and maintaining yourself and stuff. But that's because I'm identifying the light within them. I'm not focusing on the darkness in anyone. You know what I'm saying? And that's what true empathy is about. You know what I'm saying? True empathy is like, you know, recognizing a person's sanity, you know what I'm saying, more so than their insanity. You know, when you focus on the sane elements of a person, it's like a therapy for them. It's like a, you know, a great thing for them, because it's like you're awakening them back to their sanity. It's like restoring them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yo, hold on 1 minute. Yo, Mark, what's good, man? Yo, I'm on a call right now, bro. Come back in like 20 minutes. All right, thank you, brother. Peace.
You say it was your birthday?
Yeah, man. It's my 35th birthday today.
Oh my God, happy birthday.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we don't want to keep you too long, by the way. How long have you got?
It's all good, man. Let's just, you know, keep it, you know, maybe let's go for like half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that.
Cool. That's no worries.
Good. That's perfect. I heard you like before just mention like, I heard something, I was listening to something that you were talking about, and you were talking about fear and how it's all like an illusion, and it really like stood out to Raza and I both, like how you were talking about you can't really fear anything right now because the main fear is somewhere else. I don't know if you could go into that a bit more, just because I thought it was really interesting about what you said.
Well, you know, fear really implies lack of understanding, you know, and on, you know, the highest elevation of understanding is love. Love is the highest elevation of understanding, you know, and you really can't fear what you love. And wherever there is fear, it's showing that there's a lack of love in that situation or in that relationship. So, you know, fear is an illusion because love is everywhere. Love is everything. You know what I mean? Because God is everywhere and God is love. And this is the psychology that I approach the world with. And this is my safety, you know, because I'm not, you know, perceiving falsely, you know. When we look at ourselves as just a particle of dust or a physical body, of course we're going to be in a state of fear because we're going to feel vulnerable. You know, we've identified with the physical form so much that, you know, we feel that we could be affected by outside forces. So a lot of fear comes along with that thought system. And, you know, it's really ignorance ultimately, you know, but perfect love casts out fear, you know. And, you know, fear is an illusion, as this world is an illusion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this world is predicated on fear. You know what I'm saying? And
fear,
you know,
fear comes in all sorts of shapes and sizes. I think the one that you're talking about, you're absolutely right about, you know. But I thought it was interesting because you're talking about how hooked up we are on the material world and seeing things in a tangible way. People are scared of kind of delving into what isn't obvious. I mean, I shouldn't say obvious, but what isn't like materially there. And especially in the industry which you're in and we're kind of entering, people are very much like, let's make a story about something physical and tangible and relatable. And maybe if you want to, metaphorically relate it to something else, you can. But people are afraid to really talk about, those things head on, those things which aren't really there, but they are head on. And I think that the reason you're so unique is because you aren't afraid to do that. You have no fear, like you're saying. Where do you think that rule breaking comes from?
Well, number one, thank you, man, for recognizing that. I truly take that as a compliment. I grew up in the era of hip hop, you know what I'm saying, where, originality was paramount.
Mm.
MC had to be original, you know what I'm saying, in order to even be respected.
Mm.
And I feel like that's been lost today. So, by me putting in to my work, my thoughts, my deepest thoughts, you know what I'm saying, my deepest impressions, my spiritual insights. And, it makes my work unique in a sense, and it definitely makes it, distinguishable. And I'm glad for that, because, that's the only reason why I do it anyway. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people come to the art world and to photography and to filmmaking for many different reasons. For me, it's not about becoming famous. It's not about, recognition and, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really about, life lessons and opening people's minds.
Mm.
And, helping people to overcome fear, and because it's about those things, and because, I'm sincere about those things, I feel that it's made my work stand out. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to do that in order to become successful, because you have many superficial artists who are, according to the world, extremely successful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just that my idea of success is a little different. I don't value what is valueless. I don't value material things, and I value people is what I mean. I value relationships, and ultimately that's all that's valuable, because if something is not eternal, it's valueless. That's the criteria of value. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the things, most of the things that are worldly things here in this physical plane, on the physical plane and physical dimension, much of it is just all of it is transitory, illusionary in nature. And because of that, it's wise to overcome that, to turn inward and to value inward things more so than outward things. It'll save you so much time, because, when you look at depression, it comes from the root word. Like, the root word of depression is deprived, to feel deprived of something. You know what I'm saying? And if you analyze your life and the times that you felt depressed in your life, it was always when you felt deprived of something. Like, you wanted something, you didn't get it. Maybe you wanted a girl and she didn't show up, or you wanted money and it wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Or you wanted to achieve an award or win some sort of grant or something, and it just didn't come through, and now you feel depressed. You know what I'm saying? So that comes from looking outside of yourself. But if you look inside of yourself, you'll find that you're complete. You know what I mean? And that, that's where peace is found, inwardly. You know what I'm saying? And, through your meditations and with, focusing on the truth within yourself, you'll be so content with that nothing outside of you will seem to be too valuable.
That's real genius right there.
But
it reminded me, it just reminded me, like, last night me and Harvey were having a conversation about the difference between greatness and desiring accolades and fame and stuff like that. Because growing up, me and Harvey have always been very concerned with greatness, but I think our definition of greatness has significantly changed as we've matured in a short time on this earth. And I wanted to know what your opinion was on the matter, because obviously you said you're not concerned with accolades or achievements, but to me, greatness is, as you described it, something like that thing. And do you think there's a difference, and how do you differentiate that?
Yeah, well, I mean, all of us who find ourselves in this world have a purpose for being here. You know what I mean? And although I'm speaking a lot about turning inward and eclipsing worldly things or overcoming worldly things, there's a reason why we are here in the world, and it is to help forgive the world, and to overcome the illusion that we all find ourselves in. We all have a purpose that we play, a role that we play in the salvation of the world. And, my concept of greatness is figuring out that purpose, focusing on it, and finding a means to share that as much as possible. You know what I mean? And help people love themselves. That's greatness. You know what I mean? When I look at certain people like Muhammad Ali, I think of him as greatness.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Malcolm X.
Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? So many people. You know what I'm saying? So many people. Have epitomized greatness. But I'm not able to judge anyone. You know what I'm saying? Something could be great, and I may have missed it. I may have not even recognized what it was. You know what I mean? Because it's very difficult to judge anything. You know what I'm saying? But me personally, I know that my part of my function here in the world is art. You know what I'm saying? It's filmmaking, it's photography, and I'm still working it out. You know what I mean? Like I'm still trying to get to a point where I make my best work. I've done a lot of work, you know what I'm saying, so far, and it's been celebrated to an extent. But I understand that, I feel like I may be making my best work in my 40s or 50s or 60s.
For sure, for real, yeah.
I'm just trying to just, give thanks and be grateful, you know what I'm saying, that a lot of my friends, they didn't make it to the age I'm at now. A lot of them, overdosed or got murdered or in jail. One of my close people got stabbed to death. A couple years ago. Kid I grew up with, his pops got stabbed with him. You know what I'm saying? And I always think about that because I'm like, man, different cliques that I had, that I was part of. When I look at it, it's like, I'm one of the only survivors out of many of those cliques. And I've rolled with many different cliques of different people. But, when I found photography and when I found filmmaking, it became something where, like a dissemination point where I could put all of my passion into, you know what I'm saying? Not to say I could have became a mechanic or something. I could have became, a doctor and put my heart into those type of things. But, I think like, I'm speaking to you guys and you guys seem a little younger than me. And what I'll say to you is like, find what's important to you, find what you're really passionate about, you know what I'm saying? And, focus on being great within that, you know what I mean? Not to say it can't change. You may start doing something and then flip to something else and be like, I'm not doing that thing I was doing anymore. I'm doing this now. That's fine too. I tell my younger brother the same thing because, he's into music, but then he's into photography, but then he's into, so many different avenues of expression. And I do think it's important to find one thing and try to excel at that. You know what I'm saying? But really it's up for the person, again, I can't judge, and, all I'm striving to do is help people, on their own path, whatever that path is.
Yeah. I feel like quickly, one thing that you mentioned is like that everyone's kind of, it reminds me, everyone's so obsessed with trying to predict what the change is going to be, like almost so much that it takes away from the one thing which they're trying to find, like that one thing which they will drive them, will be their purpose, which they want to be great in. They're like, yeah, but what if I want to be a singer or this and that? And I feel like that kind of hesitancy is what is holding a lot of us back,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. one thing I thought would be interesting to talk about was you mentioned it briefly, but when you first came into art and expression, it was through, if I'm right in saying, music videos and with the Wu-Tang Clan. And it seems from the outside like it's been a wild journey doing that, and then going through photography, and now you're kind of a celebrated art house, critically acclaimed filmmaker. So you've expressed this like versatility in everything that you do. What was it like coming up and being with the Wu-Tang Clan and transitioning through everything that you've done, and how has that felt?
Well, thanks for doing your research, man. I appreciate
I'm
that.
sorry.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that to the fullest. Hell yeah, man. Like, look, I've always had jobs, throughout my teenage years and into my 20s. And, I worked at 2 different nursing homes, like starting from the age of really 19. I had many other jobs before that, but when I was 19, I worked at a nursing home. I remember pouring coffee, like with both hands, you know what I'm saying? It was like 2 pots of coffee. I was pouring them both at the same time and filling up like 24 cups on a tray. And, I was thinking as I was doing that, what do I really want to do with my life? Because I think the boring process of just pouring that coffee made me feel like I wasn't really doing anything. I'm like, damn, what? It just hit me like, what do I really want to do? What am I working here? Because I knew I was just working there for money. I needed money like every kid does, But then I was like thinking, like it just hit me, I wish I could be making a film right now. What I'm saying? Like it just hit me like, damn. And I wasn't in school at that time. I remember like I had graduated from high school and was just kind of in this process of not knowing if I was going to go to college or what was going to be my next steps or whatever. And I'd gotten that job and I was working in a nursing home. And when that thought came into my head about making films, then I enrolled in a community college, a local community college. And I began taking classes. Actually, like I thought that I was going to become like a business student. I didn't know, what I was going to do or whatever. But then I took this one elective, which was called Intro to Digital Filmmaking. And, they showed me the, Final Cut Pro. And somebody, they didn't even know how to use it, but there was an editing suite in the school, and they showed me, the program Final Cut Pro. And one of the people in the suite just showed me the razor tool. He didn't really know how to edit, but he was like, listen, this is the razor. This is how you cut a piece of video. Yeah. And from there, it was an epiphany to me, like, oh shit, I could actually edit now. Because, I had been messing with cameras since I was 14 years old. I always had a high-8 cassette tape camera that I was like, just recording, my life and the life of my friends. We used to break dance and I would film that, what I'm saying, and skateboard and, all of that stuff. I had all these high-8 cassette tapes, but, 5 years later when I was 19 and I was in that editing suite and somebody showed me the editing, like the razor tool, then it just really opened my mind. But that wasn't, the jumping off point. I had to, like, I ended up getting fired from that nursing home and I got a job in another nursing home. And, me and Jizza had already been friends, for a while. And I remember I quit the job. You know how you're at a job and, you feel uncomfortable or somebody says something to you and you start to argue and, you know how it is.
That's exactly like us.
Too well.
Yeah, I was just like, fuck this job. I'm done. I'm out. And I remember I ripped up my scrubs. I was a dietary aide. And I was wearing, like scrubs, what I'm saying, in the nursing home. And I went home, I quit, I ripped them up. And I ripped them up because I felt if I still had them, I may put them on and go back to work the next day or something. So, that was just, a symbol of like, nah, I'm definitely not going back to that job.
Yeah.
And, me and Jizzle were speaking and I told him, I was like, yo, man, I just quit my job, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not working at that nursing home anymore. and he was like, "Yo, God, come on the road with me, come on tour with me." And that was 2008. That was August 2008, going into September, and it was a whole month, of going on, of being on the road. My first time being in like a tour bus and going from coast to coast in America. I never really even seen my entire country until that point. And that to me was like the beginning of the journey that, the beginning really goes back further, but that's the standout point for me because, when I went on the road, I was just filming, and Jizzle was giving me like $100 every day for lunch. That was his way of paying me. I would spend maybe $15 on lunch, but every day he would throw me another 100. Like, yo, bro, just go take care of yourself, go eat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I remember me and Killer Priest were watching Meet the Fockers one night, and Killer Priest growing up was one of my favorite MCs, you know what I'm saying? One of the, major influences, you know what I'm saying? Artistically as well, you know what I'm saying? And it was just funny because now I was at a point where we were just crying, laughing at this movie, you know what I'm saying? And like some posh hotel, like, it was just ill. It was one of those times where I was like, okay, yo, now I could do anything. Like, sometimes you get that inspiration, like, yo, I'm really about to take control of my life, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I was 22 at that time. And I continued working with some of the Wu-Tang brothers, mainly Master Killer, Jizza, DJ Mathematics. And, after a while, I was like, I got to do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? These brothers are famous. I don't want to just try to get a name off of them because they're Wu-Tang. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I really got deep into my photography. You know what I'm saying? And I made a film called Field Niggas, and I didn't use nothing from Wu-Tang and highlight those brothers in that film because, again, I just wanted to come off of my own skill. You know what I mean? I wanted my work to kind of I just wanted to be myself. You know what I mean? I was recognizing at that point a lot of young people who were around Wu-Tang, who were claiming to be Wu-Tang and stuff like that, and trying to put out mixtapes and stuff like that with the Wu-Tang logo, and it just all seemed fake to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I knew that I was gonna have a career in art, but I wanted it to be based off of myself and not based off of anybody else's fame or something,
It's quite funny. It's quite interesting, actually, how like you were talking about like your job in the when you're pouring coffee and you had that moment, and like everything you were saying is like exactly what's happening for us, and it's quite weird, like hearing you saying it and saying like how, like when you got to like 20, you're like, okay, I need to take control of my life. I need to, and like, I really do believe this as well. I think you do decide who you want to be and how you're going to get there. And like, that's probably why initially why we really wanted you to come on the podcast, was because like, that's pretty much exactly what you did. And like, how you were saying with Fields, and then you came in with that film, it's like, when you, like Raza and I were saying this before, you're like one of the main characters in your films, and the way you come across in your films really represents who you are, and it builds that sort of like you said, it built your career off yourself. And I was saying that's something like we look up to a lot, and like it's just really cool to see people doing that.
Well, thank you, man. I mean, when I think about certain things that happened in my life, man, family is always a big impression for me. And there was a time that I went to visit my Aunt May in Jamaica. She lived deep in the countryside of Jamaica. And she's one of those aunts that's kind of like your mother's aunt. So what do you call that? Like a great aunt?
Yeah.
Just growing aunt.
When I went to her house, I was about 15 years old. and spent a week at her house with some family. And it was very quiet, you know what I'm saying? Just a nice, tranquil environment. And I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X and just different books that I brought with me at that time.
Yeah.
And it came time to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were gonna head back to Montego Bay, and you know, as I was leaving, my aunt came into the room as I was like preparing my stuff to leave, and she just said to me, she said, "Look deep inside of yourself and take what's within you and bring it out and give it to the world."
Damn.
And it was something that always impressed me because it was very timely. You know what I mean? You tell a child something like that. You know, I was 15 at that time, but you tell somebody something and you never know how much it will affect them. But that really did affect me.
Yeah.
Because it let me know that there was something inside that she saw.
Yeah.
That was important that I share with the world.
Yeah. That timing is crazy. Like even with all your work, like with Black Mother, which I was watching, I think I'm right in saying that, like, you know, when you asked the question to your grandfather, what do you think happens when you die? And then I think in the film, you know, he passes away, and that whole process of you filming it, that timing as well. Again, like you can't predict these things, but this is like, you know, divine timing. You know?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I love documentary. You know, I can't wait to share my new film. I have a new film called I Walk on Water, which is, you know, it's kind of like a modern day epistle. You know, it's predicated on, you know, the story in the book of Matthew, where, you know, the apostles see Christ walking on water, and Peter, you know, wants to join him, and Christ calls to him and says, "Yeah, come and join me. Come join me walking on the water." And you know, Peter's walking on the water for a moment. He's doing it, and then he takes his eyes off of Christ and he falls in the water. You know what I'm saying? Now, walking on water is like a phrase that was reserved for healers. Certain people that were high level healers, you know, in antiquity, people would say, "Yo, that person walks on water." Also, literally, sometimes there was the trees in the water, and a man could be standing on a tree that's in the water or a rock, and it could appear that he's walking on water. You know what I'm saying? Just because of how it looks. It could also, you know, refer to mirages, a person walking on a mirage. But the way that I take it is, you know, your spirit is on a higher level than the physical plane. And when you identify with the spirit, you begin to walk on water, because now you identify with Christ within you. And all of us have Christ within them. All of us are the Christ in reality. You know what I mean? And when I look at a brother, you know, to see him truly, I must see him through the eyes of Christ. And in order to do that, you know, first you must forgive everything else and just focus on the truth within him. You know, and that's how you restore him and yourself to sanity. But anyway, that's what my new film is about. My new film is about all of that without saying that. I just said it to you now. You see what I mean? Like, you know, in my art, it's not all about spelling everything out. You know what I mean? It's about being inspired by something and striving to express it visually, striving to express it or through different audio, you know, because as you know about my films, it's, you know, out of sync audio and video, and a lot of symbolism and these are documentaries though. Like, you know, that's the thing about experimental filmmaking. A lot of them are insubstantial, meaning that you can watch an experimental film and when it's done, you may ask yourself, yo, what?
The way I actually discovered you was a big our favorite filmmaker, Barry Jenkins. He retweeted your stills from I Walk on Water, and that's so I literally just checked you out from there, and obviously really liked your work, and now we're talking to you. But yeah, it is a weird one, the way that like your journey has gone from, you know, pouring coffee in a retirement home to, you know, like this whole world of Barry Jenkins and the Safdies, who, you know, we love, and it's just like the growth and the way you've kind of traversed all these different landscapes is really interesting and really different, I think.
Well, the advice that I'll give you, if you want to do something similar, is just to focus. Um, don't be too distracted by things. I've had many jobs even on my way to get to where I'm at now. I worked at AMC Networks as a television broadcast technician during the time that I was making the photographs that are in my book, Souls Against the Concrete. I had a full-time job in that time. I would tell my coworkers, like, yo, I'm a photographer, and I was also making field niggas during that time. And I would tell them I was a filmmaker, and they'd say, yo, if you're a filmmaker, why are you working here?
Yeah.
You're not a filmmaker. You're working
Yeah.
with us. And if I had let that affect me, then I may have felt limited. You know what I mean? Because people may try to limit you based off of your station in life and where they find you, and say, oh, you're defined by what you're doing now. But you have to know who you are. Despite what the circumstances, you have to know who you really are and what you really want to do. You know what I'm saying? And then strive to achieve that,
Yeah.
It's very funny because you're
hitting the nail on the head here, because it's so weird how all these little different parts are linking up. There's like the one part you're talking about, how if you have, I mean, you said it, but you didn't say it. But if you, Barry Jenkins, the guy who we're really inspired by, says, if you have a plan B, then the plan B becomes a plan A. So, and we're all about that. But we're living in a place, and we're surrounded by teachers who are in our ear, who are like, you need to have a plan B. You need to have a backup plan. What if you don't become successful filmmakers? We're not really about the what if. And likewise, on the other end, it reminds me, because right before we got cut off, you were talking about your style is like where the slow motion and the video and the audio are kind of disjunct and stuff. Before I even discovered your documentaries, I was doing a documentary project as part of our college, which I say college, the last year of high school, which we just finished. And when I was doing that, I had a massive dispute with my teacher, who hated the fact that my documentary was just a voiceover of this guy, and it was just video. And this is before I'd even discovered your work. And he said it was bad, like so much stuff. And it's funny that one of my favorite filmmakers now is a guy who done exactly that. And you're telling me face to face that I shouldn't listen to people like that. It's all mad how all of this stuff is kind of coming together.
I mean, it's important, brother. Go ahead, my brother. What was that?
I was just gonna say as well, like we've gotten so many arguments where we've said to them, like, they've told us not to call ourselves directors because it becomes arrogant. And
then you have to call yourself aspiring directors, not directors.
Well, look, man, like we were talking about a name, I mean, look, when you're on the come up or something like that, you really got to just zone into your own psychology. Study, read books, study filmmaking, watch a lot of films, and application is better than theory. In school, there's always a lot of, theoretical discussions and all this stuff about theory that could become a distraction to real application and to real work. You know what I mean? The greatest teacher is actually doing the work.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to be a filmmaker, the greatest lessons is actually making a film. And I never went to film school proper. I did take that elective I told you about, and nobody even in that place knew what they were doing. They just showed me the razor tool, and that was the greatest lesson.
It's the same shit here.
Yeah, you gotta study on your own, because even if you are in film school, your professors or whoever, they're gonna talk about it from their perspective, and I really feel like everybody has a unique style and a unique approach to filmmaking that could be obscured or overlooked or never really focused on if you continuously look at other people, such as professors. And a lot of those professors, they're not filmmakers themselves.
Yeah, I had to say it to our teacher that it gets to a point where it's like, how can I take advice from someone who failed in what I want to do?
Yeah, there you go. You go. I mean,
it hurts them to hear it, but sometimes, that's the reality.
Well, I mean, you gotta just look at everything as raw material, even like that. You know what I mean? And it's all energy. You know what I mean? You don't react to anything directly in this world. You only react to your interpretation of things. And somebody may be trying to shit on you or something like that, and you still have the power to interpret that however you want. And if you interpret it positively, you'll find a way to use it as fuel to get to that next stage of your development. You know what I mean? And throughout my time, you know what I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me, growing up that, I wasn't going to be shit. I was going to be broke. I wasn't going to have anything and, whatever. Or, I was going to be a failure. I'm a person that got left back in the 8th grade. You know what I'm saying? I never graduated from any college. I don't have any degrees, no bachelors, no associates, definitely no doctorates, nothing like that. But I grew up in a curriculum that I found on the corner, by way of the 5% Nation. And those brothers gave me so much knowledge and inspired me in such a way that no degree in college, I don't think, could amount to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm very grateful that I was receptive to it, because that's the thing too. You have to want to do it. You're not gonna achieve anything unless you really want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, somebody could give you something, but it's like winning the lottery. If you don't know how to handle it, you're gonna lose it. You know what I'm saying? So, deal with basic elements, man. Focus on the small things. You know what I mean? The small gifts that you receive. Focus on them and watch them expand. You know what I mean? Be grateful for every pearl of wisdom and that you receive, because whatever you focus on expands.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like.
Sorry, I was just going to say, when you say like you gotta want it, and when we were in college or high school, everyone else wanted it, but it felt like there was something that Raza and I both felt was like, yeah, but we want it more than you, because I don't know how to. It's like they like the idea of it, but they don't want it to the point where I can't go out every Saturday night and get drunk. I want to stay at home and work and write scripts and I feel like none of my friends, apart from Raza, have like that sort of, I wouldn't say mentality. Yeah, that hunger. It's like, I'm willing to do everything in my power and use every single thing that has been given to me. The fact that I live in the United Kingdom, the fact that I live in an area where we can go to a cinema around the corner. I'm using every single advantage that I have to my ability to be able to get to the place. That's how much I feel like you need to want it in order to get there. And it gets to a point where people think I'm arrogant and people think we're arrogant, but I heard Jay-Z say this. It was like, the reason why people think that arrogance is because I'm so sure, because of the amount of work I put in, that I'm gonna get to that point where I need to get.
Yeah. I mean, arrogance is something that is of the ego. It's like grandiosity. The ego swings between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. You know what I mean? At one point it's very high and like grandiose, and then at another point it's very low and depressed and feeling little. It's at 6 o'clock. So it's not balanced. Your spirit is in a state of grandeur. That's your true self. You're in a state of grandeur, meaning that you don't want for anything. You have everything. You know what I mean? Let your work come from that. You know what I mean? And don't compare yourself to other people, because, if you compare yourself to other people, you're going to get caught up in their judgments and the way that they think about themselves. And people project their own limitation or what they consider their limitations onto other people. You know what I mean? And, you could go to the bar sometimes and be out there and whatever like that and still be successful. As long as when you're at the bar, you're looking at what's going on around you and you're thinking about filmmaking. No matter what I'm doing, I'm constantly thinking about art. You know what I mean? Not all the time, you know what I'm saying? But it just becomes part of my perception of looking at the world, you know what I mean? And focusing on the beauty that is all around us, you know what I mean? Because perception is a choice. You know, you see what you want to see. You know, it seems that, you know, you know, we're being shown things as they are, but nothing, you don't see anything by itself. You always add to it through your interpretation of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
100%.
that's the power of your mind. You know, you could look at something and say, you know, this is very ugly, or you could say this is very beautiful, depending on how you feel about yourself in that moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just keep an open mind. You know what I mean? And ask for guidance. That's the thing. You know, don't be afraid to ask, you know, for guidance from a higher power, you know, in seeing. We all need help in seeing. You know what I mean? Because perception is just how one sees. Per is one and sept is to see. So it's how one sees. You know what I mean? And that's always going to be limited to an extent because we all have different vantage points. You know, you got to try to rise above the battleground and look at life from an aerial perspective, you know, and by doing that, you'll see it in a whole different light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Give yourself that perspective.
Right.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that, like, you've gone from one small pocket where you're facing some negativity and hearing all these things, and there's these own little issues, to suddenly being propelled and your work being propelled into this like massive industry, and you know, where it's run by institutions. I think, you know, you kind of had a background of following Jizza around and stuff like that, where that was the music industry. But the difference, I guess you could say, between the music industry and the film industry is that the music industry is very much the face of it, or like the culture is run by the artist. But in the film industry, a lot of it's decided, or feels like it's decided up until now, by institutions and, you know, kind of these age-old things. How do you deal with that, especially making content which isn't of the mainstream and necessarily what all of those higher ups want to see or hear coming out of the industry? How do you deal with that, and in your line of work?
I don't consider it too much. You know, life is a short thing. You know what I'm saying? You may live 100 years, 90 years, 80 years, something like that. You know what I mean? And even that is kind of short. You know what I'm saying? In the grand scheme of things. So, you know, when I consider becoming successful in the level of success that I want to achieve, it really has to do with saying the things that I really wanted to say while I was here on the physical plane. You know what I mean? And it really has to do with, you know, being honest and sincere with myself. You know what I mean? Because, you know, when I'm making a film like Black Mother, right, or I Walk on Water, right, like I want to be able to be 60 years old and rewatch those films and be like, yeah, I'm glad I made it. I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? That's satisfying. And I'm still glad that I said those things in the year 2020. You know what I mean? In the year 2015 and 2018, I said those things of my work. I'm glad. I'm grateful for that. And you know, I can't expect that everybody is gonna like it, you know, or celebrate it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing when you're making art, because you know, you have to kind of make it without over considering the audience. Of course, we consider the audience. Of course, we consider the institutions. We consider our next projects, and will I get support if I say this? Will people support me in the future? Yeah, consider that to an extent, but don't over consider it. Think about it and then just let it pass, because you know your work itself becomes a magnet. You know what I mean? And the strength of that magnet is the power of love within it. You know what I mean? And if you loved what you made yourself and you made it from a place of truth, right? Then it's always going to be meaningful. You know what I mean? And not everybody is going to like it, but you know, it's kind of like going to the woods, right? And cutting the new path. You know what I'm saying? You may be the first person to cut that path. You may bring your machete and create a whole nother path in the park. And at first it wasn't there, but I guarantee other people are going to walk that path now. You know what I mean? Other people are going to say, oh, I like this trail. I'm going down the trail now. You know what I'm saying? And sorry, brother. Go ahead.
No, you finish.
No, I was pretty much done.
No, I was going to say, like, in what we do anyway, is we me and Harvey look around all the time. We're like, I just see a bunch of people who want to follow formulas and want to do things the way it's already been done. And when you come to the realization that the only way to get to your destination, that higher level, is by, like with your machete, cutting down your own trees and making your own path, and people will follow that. That's the best way to put it, man.
Yeah. I mean, look, that takes, confidence, and it takes courage to do that. And, you have to be confident. Yeah, I feel like in order to be an artist, you have to, be confident, have conviction, and have something to say. And you take your time with that. You have those moments, those periods of reflection where you just maybe be reading a book or reading a couple of books. You may spend a couple of years. Like for me, when I became a photographer, I really became a photographer after I was already making films. In 2010 is when I really became a photographer. And for the first 2 years, I didn't post any pictures on social media. Those were the days of Tumblr. Instagram wasn't really there like that at that point. Facebook was around. But the thing is, I didn't want to put work out because I knew that I didn't get to a level that I had set for myself yet. You know what I'm saying? And, for new artists coming up, everybody wants recognition, or they want to be, known for whatever, or whatever. They social media creates a lot of fast food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, I don't think great work is fast food.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you think about, the great literary artists, you know what I'm saying? A lot of those people spend a lot of time in solitude, writing their novels and without showing it to anybody.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest short stories ever written, took years to become published. You know what I mean? It wasn't so quick. We're living in a time now where everything is very fast. You do something, you put it out, everyone sees it, it's out there. That's just the time we're living in, and I can't judge that because I'm sure that in 100 years from now, this time would have been very important, to different artists. They'll be, oh yeah, remember, But think about this, man. Filmmaking, photography, these are new art forms. We think of Alfred Hitchcock and, we think of, black and white old films or whatever. We think that's old, but filmmaking is not as old as different art forms like dancing and music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're not even 500 years into filmmaking. We're not even 500 years into photography, right? So we're still very much at the beginning stages of this art form. And because of that, there's a lot of room for innovation, and young brothers like yourselves coming up, and myself included, and everybody, people like Barry Jenkins, or, new filmmakers. We're all new filmmakers. You know what I mean? Because filmmaking is a new art. You know what I'm saying? It's just a couple hundred. Come on, man. When was the first film made? I don't know.
It's like 1910s, I think, maybe.
Yeah. So we're not even like 200 years into it like that. You know what I'm saying? So we get confused because, there's been so much technology and so many advances with cameras and lenses and narratives and so on. But we got to remind ourselves that there's so much room for innovation. And, you know what I mean? It's just the beginning stages still. Yeah. And that should liberate people. That should open up our minds to say, let me create something original. Let me do something that I've never seen before. That's how I think about it. You know what I mean? And, I never claimed to be the best, but I claim to be the best at being myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of interesting you saying this as well. It's like, because I've never thought about it that way. Because I think like film, especially now, is so accessible. Like, think about like Criterion. I've been watching Ozu films over lockdown. To me, that was like years and years and years ago, but really it's like we've got a long way to go, especially with like the films coming out now. And like you said, there's always room for innovation. I think that with all art as well, but like I've never even thought about that. And like the way you've just said it, it's really interesting to hear that.
Word. I feel
Really.
that way, man. But yo, you know, I'm gonna tell you guys, man, like, you know, you could do anything, you know, it's an actual fact, you know, there's no limits. Don't put any limits on yourself. Continue to nurture your mind, to feed your mind positive stuff. You know, be careful of your mental diet. You know what I mean? Be careful of social media, of getting swept up in all the negative things that are going on in the world. You know, we need you, you know what I'm saying, to keep a healthy mental diet, to keep a healthy mentality so that you could, you know, help to heal the world. You know what I mean? Become healers. Use your work to heal people. It's up to you what you do with your work, but I feel that gives it more strength and more power when it takes on a healing function.
Yeah.
100. Yeah, 100.
Bro, I've not heard this much knowledge come out of one person's mouth in such a short amount of time in a long time, man. It's so good and
refreshing.
Yeah, to talk to you, bro, especially in our position. If you're ever in London anytime, we'd love to show you our spots and chill. We'd love to kind of squeeze any bits of information we can out of your brain face to face anytime. So it's been a real pleasure, bro.
Stay in touch, man. My new film, I Walk on Water, is going to be distributed through Dogwoof in the UK. Still working out those details, but I'll be out there. Hopefully, you know, travel and all that opens up, and I'm able to get out there. And I'm sure I'll be in Sheffield as well. You know, when that festival resumes, and you know, stay in tune, man. And you know, I'm glad for this opportunity to share knowledge, and it's part of my responsibility, man. Especially, you know, when younger brothers like yourself, you know, want to build. You know, I was blessed with the generosity of a lot of people that were generous with their knowledge and wisdom, and you know, I gotta continue to do the same thing in my life. So each one teach one.
Each one teach one with Khalik. I think that's the title. Yeah, man. I had one little note question. This is not really a theme or a topic, and I want to let you get away. But do you ever plan on doing a fiction film? Because I just love to see that. But if not,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I wanna challenge myself more and more. I think that maybe this new film, is the completion of a trilogy that, you know, coming from Field Niggas Black Mother to this film to they're all related aesthetically, not so much by subject matter, but the aesthetics of, you know, the approach that I've taken, you know, with the Out of Sync audio and video. And I think that was the completion of what I set out in 2015 to do. And now I'm in the huddle, and I'm just figuring out my next steps and the next type of films that I'm going to do. And in the process, I'm just working on my photography. I recently joined Magnum Photos, and that's been another jolt of inspiration to keep working on the photography front.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm gonna sit back and write a script, and you know, try to get support to make that project. I already have an idea, but it's still in the early stages.
I can't wait to see it, right? Yeah. Keep doing what you do, because it's so necessary in the world which we live in today, and it's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brothers. Appreciate y'all.
Hope you guys enjoyed that, because we sure did. What an amazing guest he is. Make sure you're staying aware of what he's doing. I Walk on Water, which is his latest film, which will be coming out soon. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you check out the others, and you can follow us on social medias to see what we're doing when we're not doing the podcast, and check out the films and all that. And so that's just at Huft Media. Speak to you soon.